All right. I'm going to move on to another topic here.
All right. Hit your B.
There you go. All right. Another thing I want to talk about, it's been going around social media. There is a website that really doesn't deserve to be discussed, but we're going to discuss them. They are one of the biggest bullshit websites around. If you're getting your internet news, if you're movie news, there's a couple sites you don't want to go to. You don't want to go to We Got This Covered. Well, I don't hear from them too much anymore.
No.
I think they've died off, but We Got This Covered was notorious.
This was like one of the original ones.
Bounding into Comics,
That's
or as Dane calls it, shitting into diapers. I like that name. They're terrible. But one of the worst is Cosmic Book News. Cosmic Book News, who if they tell you it's raining out, you can leave your umbrella at home, because nothing they say is ever true. They put out a story the other day that said James Gunn is out at DC due to the Warner Brothers sale. And people have been running with this. I've seen other news sources pick that up with We Got This we got this Cosmic Book News as their source. Like, so you're now seeing it reported all over the place by multiple sources, but the source they're leading back to is a bullshit source.
Right.
So I'm getting texts from family, friends, people who don't really follow this kind of stuff too closely, and they're like, "Oh my God, I just heard James Gunn's out," because this is spreading. And I just want to remind people, there's no truth to this. Number one, Warner Brothers hasn't been sold yet. Yes, a bid was made by Paramount. Warner Brothers turned it down. Doesn't mean it won't get sold, but Warner Brothers hasn't been sold yet, number one.
But it also doesn't mean that they would fire James Gunn either. Like, whoever buys it may not get rid of James Gunn. You know what I mean?
In fact, I would argue that getting rid of James Gunn would be one of the worst things you could possibly do, because first of all, the DC universe has just been rebooted. To reboot it again too soon, it would be disastrous.
And they have projects in motion that are connected to James Gunn.
Right.
So that would be
right.
That would be such a massive waste of money. It would just be a huge waste of money.
But even if, like, let's say for the sake of argument, you don't like James Gunn. Let's say you don't like what James Gunn's doing. It doesn't change the fact that to reboot again would be remember when Spider-Man was getting rebooted every 5 minutes and like people were getting frustrated? Like, people, they want something. They want a show of confidence. They want a show of confidence. And if you are going to come in and say, we're going in another direction again now, after 1 year of a new DC universe, you might as well just never make a DC movie again, because you're just not going to have the faith of the audience at that point. But on top of that, despite what you may have heard, Superman was a hit.
Yeah.
So I know there's people online who swear up and down it wasn't, but it was. It was reported. We did last night on your show. We talked about Forbes and some of their reporting
that just leads back in a circle. It's not. It doesn't even. There's no actual source. It's just a random bit of like tax information from the UK.
But Variety reported that people connected to the movie, people who actually are in the know, said it grossed 125 million in profit. I'm going to trust the people who worked on the film before somebody who doesn't have the numbers and is just kind of trying to do the math in their head based on
numbers that are so I've done so much digging and work on trying to figure this out. We will never know the exact numbers when it comes to a production budget. We'll never know that. It's not, you can't find it in any filings. Yeah, it would have to be for sale first. You can't find it in filings. If you look at the fiscal report every quarter, you'll never find it there. They don't release that stuff. Other than James Gunn saying in an article, yes, it costs this much. You could dig and dig and dig. It's going to be really hard to find an exact amount on a budget. They always say estimated. That's the word they use. So when these articles are being made, they're being made on estimated numbers. They don't even have the exact numbers.
Exactly.
I would like to introduce a rebuttal that if you trust the people that work on the movie, do you remember when Black Adam came out and Variety was reporting that it lost like $50 to $100 million? and then Dwayne Johnson himself tried to come out and say, no, it actually was profitable and made $50 to $100 million.
I know they were probably freaking out too because investors were like, wait.
I think the stupidest thing that James Gunn did was immediately announce a reboot when there were still 4 movies in the pipeline ready to come out.
Yeah,
with Black Adam being one of those, Shazam being the other. You had Blue Beetle, and was it Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? I think it was
Aquaman 2. Here's the thing. In retrospect, that turned out to be a mistake.
Yeah.
And I know it was a mistake because when movies like Shazam 2 and The Flash and Blue Beetle were opening, I go on Facebook. You get the ads. You get the ad. Go see this movie. AMC Theater posts an ad. Regal Theaters posts an ad. Warner Brothers posts an ad. Go see the movie. Read the comments, and the comments would be filled with people saying, "Why would I go see this? This universe is dead. Why would I go see this? They're restarting. Why would I go?" So, in retrospect, knowing what we know now with 2020 vision, it turned out to be a mistake. But at the time, I don't think that was a mistake anyone could have predicted, because I don't think anyone could have predicted the audience would have reacted that way, because every one of those movies, in fact, I was really depressed at the time because it sent a message to me that the audience isn't interested in stories.
Right.
Because Shazam 2 tells a complete story. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. Blue Beetle tells a complete story. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. All of those films do. There's a complete story there. And if the audience is like, I'm not interested in your story if it's not connected to something else, if the post-credits stinger doesn't take me into something else, I'm out.
We also had The Flash, right? That was
Joe, to be fair, DC sold itself as a cinematic universe going all the way back to Man of Steel. So if you're gonna reboot a cinematic universe, it requires commitment. And you're gonna announce it with 4 movies left in the pipeline. Why would they waste their time going to see these 4 movies, knowing that this cinematic universe is going to get rebooted anyway with David Korenzwit?
But how's that a waste of time? Because, take a look at Shazam 2, one of my favorite films that year. Love that movie. It didn't continue into another movie.
I would say Blue Beetle also had its own individual story as well. That was a separate thing.
Oh, every one of them did. I mean, Aquaman 2 was picked.
I would say Flash doesn't, though. Flash does connect a lot to previous DC things.
But if you're building out a cinematic universe and you're not going to do anything with Blue Beetle, why am I going to waste my time to go watch the Blue Beetle movie, knowing that this is not going to pay off later? That's the whole foundation of a cinematic universe.
But then why go see Sinners? If we don't know Sinners is going to continue into another movie, why go see one battle after another? Why go see Weapons? Are we only seeing movies because it's going to connect to something else? And just because you say, well, it was part of a connected universe, okay, but each film is still its own thing. If you look at the MCU, with the exception of the Avengers movies, every MCU movie is a standalone. You can watch Iron Man, you could watch the Hulk, you could watch Captain America, the First Avenger, and you don't have to continue on. You've got a complete story there. Now, you can continue on, and you are rewarded later on when you see how all the things connect, but it doesn't cheapen the individual film any.
So you're coming at it from the standpoint that that it makes you sad because you feel like people view those movies as one long continuous story and not individual pieces of art.
I loved the MCU.
Right.
I was a huge fan of the MCU. Still am. I go see all those movies, see them all opening weekend. And when the audience reacted that way, well, I'm not going to commit to this movie if I know there's not a continuation. My feeling was the MCU was a mistake. The MCU was a mistake. If it taught people that all or nothing.
I think it might have been retaliation, though, right? What if people love that universe and they're like, "Oh, so you're just going to cancel my universe without giving it an ending? I'm not going to go and see your movies." You know what I mean? What if people felt that way? They were resentful towards the studio canceling that universe. Maybe they loved all those characters and they just were like, I'm not going to pay to go see this because you're just going to cancel it anyway. You know what I mean? Maybe they felt that way about it.
I guess I like I keep saying, in retrospect, it definitely was a mistake, but I don't think anyone could have predicted it would have been.
Do you know what the biggest mistake Warner Brothers made prior to hiring James Gunn and him announcing the reboot of the DCEU?
What's that?
Take a wild guess.
Well, I think it's releasing the Snyder Cut.
Ding, 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 ding. You nailed it.
One. That was a big one. Yeah.
Because that genuinely split the fandom right then and there, because now you had a contingent of people that wanted to see Zack Snyder's version continue, and Warner Bros. Made it very clear that they were not going to continue Zack Snyder's DCEU, so why release the Snyder Cut of Justice League if you were never going to build on that? Because now all you've accomplished is you just pissed a lot of people off right there. And then you have James Gunn come in and say, oh, we're going to reboot the DCEU, but we still have 4 movies coming down the pipeline, so I hope you stick around for all those. Like, it's one shit show after another after another.
I've said for a while the Snyder Cut was a reward for bad behavior, right? Like,
I agree.
I think releasing that was like, hey, there's a loud minority of people on the internet who keep complaining about what we're doing, so we're going to give them something for doing that. But when everybody else, like the fans that are out here supporting the stuff that you're doing already, are crying, hey, give us, we want more of this. We want to see more Wonder Woman. We want to see more Aquaman. We want more Batman or whatever. They don't do that. They go and they invest money into a streaming launch of the Zack Snyder Cut, which is like a 4-hour whatever it was, put together, which, by the way, Zack Snyder also filmed things that are essentially against the guidelines of like the studios and things like that. Like, he filmed some of this in his yard, his house, during the COVID situation. And apparently a lot of that was they ended up not being able to use it because it was a violation of the guidelines they had set in place. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that, but I feel like they did that, and then that just reinvigorated all of that toxic fan base to thinking that sell the Snyderverse to Netflix or continue the Snyderverse and restore the Snyderverse. Like, it just became even bigger. And I think they kind of painted themselves in a corner by doing that. And
remember, there was no Snyder Cut. Warner had to spend like $70 million going back and actually shooting the Snyder Cut.
Apparently,
so no Snyder Cut existed.
Apparently there was more spent. Apparently it was more than that. That was the budget they gave them, but they actually went over budget on that, apparently.
I agree completely with Reggie 19 here. Guess I'm a dinosaur. I don't need universes. I just need good movies. Let's go back to Shazam 2. I was so excited to see Shazam 2. Shazam 1 was one of my favorite movies. I couldn't wait to see Shazam 2. I knew going into Shazam 2 that the universe was ending. But I'll throw another wrinkle at you. Shazam could have been, James Gunn said so. Shazam could have been folded into the new universe.
Yeah. Those movies could have been done that.
He said, if you go out and support this film, if this film's a hit, we may retroactively incorporate it. So the people who were saying, I'm not going to see this because it's not going anywhere, they kind of made it not go anywhere, because had they seen it, it might have.
Okay, but I want to point out, Zachary Levi had a big controversy about 2 weeks before that movie got released.
I don't remember that.
I mean, I know he's had one since.
On social media, he went off about like some sort of vaccine related thing or something like that about 2 weeks before the movie came out. Because we were covering like weekly, like the stuff I do on my channel now. We were doing that. And I remember telling Paige at that time, I'm like, this is disastrous for this movie, because you have the main actor coming out and essentially like being anti-vax and all of this. Like, it's fair if that's his opinion. Like, he can hold those opinions for himself, but he was posting it on like Instagram and stuff like that. There was a whole article on it around the time the movie came out. So I think that probably did affect some of the sales of the movie.
Now, you see, I don't remember that one. I do know he went full MAGA after the movie.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that. Hold on.
But he also had, I think, a fake controversy. I call it a fake controversy, where the Snyder Bros got really angry at him because he said, and I agree with him, he was right. His movie Shazam 2 was up against John Wick 4. And he said, you can't take the kids to see John Wick 4. You can take them to see Shazam. And people were like, you hear that? He said, don't see John Wick 4. See his movie. But he was right. I did take my kids to see Shazam. Shazam was rated PG-13. I'm not taking my kids to see an R-rated film. It's not like it's like when people got angry at Brie Larson for saying, you need more diverse critics. She didn't say anything wrong. People got angry at a statement that was factually true.
See, I don't think Zachary Levi could have brought down Shazam by himself, because a lot of times whenever someone says something stupid, those controversies tend to blow over given enough time. It happens all the time. I think what killed Shazam Fury of the Gods was Dwayne Johnson being a big baby about it.
That's another problem.
And refusing to agree to fight Shazam, despite the fact that Black Adam and Shazam have been arch rivals since when, the 1970s? Because I know they didn't start out that way, but I think it started in the 60s or the 70s, where they pitted Black Adam against Shazam. But still, Dwayne Johnson was a big baby and didn't want to do it, and instead he insisted on fighting Superman. And then that led to the announcement that Henry Cavill was coming back. And then 2 months after that announcement, Henry Cavill came out and said that he was no longer coming back as Superman, which I felt at the time could have hurt James Gunn's Superman, but hindsight being 2020, it really didn't. But still, we need to acknowledge that one of the things that really hurt Shazam Fury of the Gods was Dwayne Johnson being such a big baby and refusing to fight Shazam.
There's 4 things I found here that happened around the release of the movie that kind of hurt things. So that was one of them here. It says that he blamed Dwayne Johnson on behind the scene disputes, and it affected things like Hawkman and Cyclone that were going to be teased in Shazam that never got teased because of Dwayne Johnson wanted to keep Black Adam completely separate from Shazam, which I think is kind of weird, to be honest. But the other things he did, what was that? Sorry.
Oh no, I was about to rebuttal. Why would you join a cinematic universe if you don't want to connect with said cinematic universe? That's the logic.
And he was the producer on the Shazam movies too.
Yeah. But he also had this thing about fighting Superman, which, yes, Black Adam has fought Superman in the comics before, but Black Adam is primarily an antagonist for Shazam. That's where the character comes from. But the other controversies he had here was that he posted a bunch of anti-vax stuff and attacked Pfizer, saying Pfizer was a bigger threat to the world than a bunch of other things. He mocked the Free Britney movement, making fun of trying to get out of her conservatorship, and saying some disparaging things about that. He also made a post mocking Women's Day, basically some very ill-timed posts making fun of the different influencers, I guess, making positive things in regards to International Women's Day. I can't find what those were because it was on TikTok, obviously. But all of that was going on right before the movie got released. There was a bunch of controversial stuff that he did.
It's a shame. He's such a good actor. Like I'm a hardcore Chuck fan. Like I love Chuck. I love the Shazam movies. He's got talent, man, but he just...
I said his publicist was probably kicking himself in the head during that month. He's like, oh my God, could you have just waited?
He was also in that Heroes sequel series.
Yeah. In fact, that's when I interviewed him. He's been on this channel. I interviewed him during Heroes and his game show, Geeks That Drink. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He hosted a game show. Couldn't have been a nicer guy, but he's, I don't know. I don't like where he's gone. By the way, Hoxie High School, asked earlier what the super chat goal is. Like I said, I haven't had a super chat for a long time.
$1?
Let's say.
We need the Dwight Schrute. We need $1 and a penny.
See, I was gonna go old school 80s and say $2. I want my $2. Somebody give us the Better Off Dead goals.
I do the goal. I have the goal thing set up so it throws confetti down when we hit the goal on mine. I don't know if you have that one.
Good to see you, Sean. I don't know how you do those things. Like I know, like you have like you getting up and dancing. Like, and I've seen other people do that. I don't know all the tricks. I guess
I have to do a crash course with you one day and like show you all the ropes.
Caitlin again says, "No way, you're the oldest."
I don't know what to tell. I'm not going to show my ID. Like...
Only by 2 weeks, though, man. Like we're 2 weeks apart. So, all right. What do I don't have. I don't have those kind of clips, but I do have weird things like this.
something in my drink, didn't you?
Where did that come from?
I was watching TV one night and I saw that clip of the woman going, "Bill, you put something in my drink, didn't
And
you?"
it made you think of Cosby.
And as soon as she said, "Bill, you
Right.
put something in my drink," I was like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing with that clip."